Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy days to join us for the second VU Forum of the year and my first forum. I'm Bathan Mullen. I've recently joined the Essential Services Commission as Executive Director of the VU program. And I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of all the lands we're joining this meeting from today. For me, that's the land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations. And I pay my respects to elders past, present, and elders of other communities who may be joining us today. So I'm joined today by colleagues from the Commission and the Department of Energy, Environment and Climate Action, who will also speak today. We'll run through updates, changes and priorities for the VU program as shown in the agenda on the screen at the moment. And there'll also be an opportunity for questions at the end. So before we get started, just some housekeeping. We are recording this session today. Microphones are muted so we can hear the presenters clearly. There'll be time for questions after the presentations, and the video recording, the presentation and responses to questions will be made available on our website, including responses to questions that we don't get time to get to during the session today. So when we get to the question and A session, or at any time throughout the presentations today, you can ask a question by selecting the Q&A button in the menu, and there's instructions on the screen at the moment. On the slide, and you can also have the option to use the raise your hand function. So if you do that, if you raise your hand, wait for us to call on you, and you'll need to unmute your microphone when we do that so you can speak. The responses to questions, including those we don't get to today, as I said, will be made available on our website, along with the video recording and the presentation. Just a suggestion that for today, I think rather than raising technical questions or matters specific to your business at the forum, please send them through to us at vu@esc.vic.gov.au and we'll respond to you directly. And so with that, I'd like to hand over to our Commissioner and Chairperson, Kate Simons, to say a few words. Kate, over to you.
Great, thank you very much, Bathan. Great to have you on board at the Commission to lead the VU division. And thank you and welcome everyone. We're really pleased you could join us here today, and welcome. For those who've not met me before, my name's Kate Simons. I'm the Chairperson of the Essential Services Commission. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of all the lands we're meeting on today. For me, that's the land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, and I pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. Before I say a few words, I'd like to just share a short video message from the Minister for Energy and Resources, the Honourable Lily D'Ambrosio, who couldn't be here today. And Heidi, I think you're ready to press the button. Thanks very much. thanks very much to the Minister for that message for today's forum. I think it's a really powerful message from the Minister about the impact of the program to date, the Victorian Government's ambitious vision and plans for the program, including playing a key part in Victoria's transition to electrification. With cost of living pressures adding up, the VEU program is playing an even more important role than ever in helping Victorians reduce their energy costs, as well as contributing to Victoria's climate action plan. I understand this morning we have over 350 people registered to attend today's forum, which I think really positively reflects on the importance of the VEU program to industry. I'm also joined today by my fellow commissioners online. Welcome Simon, Rebecca and Satish, as well as members of our VEU team, our CEO Sarah Shepherd and representatives of the Department of Energy, Environment and Climate Action. The Commission and the Department both play really important roles in the VEU program. The Department is the policy agency, which includes responsibility for developing legislative changes and setting the specifications for activities that form part of the program. And the Commission is both the administrator of the program, ensuring certificate transactions are completed in line with the legislation, as well as the regulator, through setting standards, approving accredited persons, supporting compliance and taking compliance and enforcement activity where appropriate. I do want to reflect on the significant changes to the program over the past couple of years. I think at last year's forum, I mentioned that the next 12 months would see the program further evolve and expand, presenting new opportunities and responsibilities for your businesses. And you will be aware of a number of reforms introduced by the government over that time, which we've been busy implementing at the Commission and continue to embed. I do want to acknowledge that change can be a challenge for industry participants and that such change is really necessary to strengthen the integrity of the program so that it delivers intended outcomes for consumers, industry and the environment. The Code of Conduct, new accreditation processes and standards, and strengthen compliance and enforcement functions and powers for the Commission will help deliver positive outcomes by protecting consumers and building trust and upholding integrity in the VEU program. And in turn, that really helps drive consumer demand in the program and industry participation as well. Maintaining program integrity and protecting consumers really remains a key focus for the Commission. We actively monitor program activity, investigate matters of concern and take enforcement action when we find evidence the rules may not have been followed. Poor quality product installations and inappropriate lead generation and marketing activity do remain the most common source of complaints and feedback we receive from consumers. While this activity may be carried out by contractors, accredited persons must have appropriate systems and processes to ensure activities carried out on their behalf by other parties are compliant with the program rules. And you may have seen we've recently taken action against accredited persons where this has not occurred. Non-compliance with the VEU program rules risks enforcement action by the Commission, and it may impact on an accredited person's eligibility to have their accreditation renewed and new accreditation processes and standards now in force. The Commission always has consumers in mind when exercising its role as administrator and regulator of this program to protect their interests. And as I mentioned last year at the forum, we do understand that changes may impact you and the way you engage with consumers and carry out energy efficient upgrades under the program. Again, we will continue to work with you to help you understand and follow the program's regulatory and compliance settings. This includes publishing updated guidance and supporting materials, engagement with you to assist accredited persons and scheme participants to both understand and meet their obligations. As I mentioned earlier, this year the Commission has also been focusing on accreditation processes and standards, and we will have a little bit more to say about that later in today's forum. I do want to emphasise the important shift in our approach, building off those new functions provided to us by the government, including the introduction of a fit and proper person test and a competent and capable test. This is a really critical change so that participants in the VEU program uphold a high level of integrity and consumers are protected by having high quality participants in the program. In closing, I want to thank you for your participation and contribution to the Victorian Energy Upgrades program. You do play a really vital role in the success of the program, which delivers important environmental and economic benefits in the long-term interests of Victorians. Today's forum is a really valuable opportunity for both the Commission and the Department to provide some important updates to you about the program. But today is not just about us presenting to you, it is also a really valuable opportunity for us to listen and hear directly from you. I will be observing the remainder of the forum today and encourage you to ask questions of the team, provide feedback, and Bathan will have a bit more to say shortly about how you can engage with the forum today. I hope you find the forum of use today and very much look forward to meeting you again in 2024. With that in mind, Bathan, I'm handing back to you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Kate. As Kate and the Minister have touched on, since joining the Commission, I've really been struck by the breadth of change and activity in the VU program. Along with business as usual, there's been extensive work going on to embed the changes introduced since the 1st of July of this year. This includes kicking off the new accreditation renewal process and establishing our compliance, audit and enforcement functions. The team's also been implementing further new program fees and associated changes from the 1st of November 2023. Our directors, Casper and Dan, will expand on some of this activity shortly. There's also been changes in the team in line with changes to the program. We've bolstered the team to make sure that we can effectively administer and regulate the program. This includes additional capability and resources to support and engage industry, support the expanded accreditation requirements, and actively monitor compliance and enforcement of the program rules where required. As Kate touched on, supporting and engaging industry is a high priority for the Commission. The team has been working hard to improve our responsiveness to inquiries. I acknowledge that this is not where we would like it to be due to a significant increase in inquiries and complaints following the introduction of the Code of Conduct. Response times have significantly improved and we continue to work on this, and I hope you're starting to see those improvements. We do want to hear from you about how we can effectively engage with you to support compliance. So I'm now going to hand over to Casper Matt, who is our Director of Regulatory Operations. Casper's going to run through some of the program data, highlights and trends. Over to you, Casper.
Thank you, Bathan. Good morning, everyone. As Bathan said, I will take you briefly through some program highlights, trends and issues. Next slide, please, Heidi. So to start off with somewhat high-level overview, we have 99 active accredited persons in the program at the moment. So these are persons who have actually created certificates in the course of this year. New accreditation applications also continue quite strongly. There were 26 new accreditations this year, and that includes the first accreditation that was granted under the revised framework that took effect as of 1 July. The number of upgrades delivered under the program continues strongly as well. More than 830,000 upgrades have been delivered, and these were delivered to over 511,000 premises, both business and residential. We can see from that, of course, that in some instances that includes multiple upgrades to single premises. The number of certificates created as a result is approximately 4.5 million, or at least registered, I should say. The creation is just over 5 million, representing over 4.5 million tonnes of greenhouse gas emissions reduction. As you can see, there's a fairly large number of certificates that were withdrawn. This includes a significant anomaly where a particular accredited person accidentally created a large number by accident, which were then withdrawn. But nonetheless, the withdrawal rate is of some concern to us. We do too often see withdrawal of certificates in response to requests for information. I'll say a little bit more about that in a moment. Product approvals continue strong as well, including being driven by the new electrification activities. To date, 801 products have been registered this year. Likewise, project-based activities remains an important and significant aspect of the program, with 56 activities approved this year. As noted by Bathan in his introduction, we are receiving a very large number of inquiries, which includes complaints. With just over 2,100 inquiries received this year. We're very much working on our response time. We have made significant headway in that regard, but it's an ongoing aspect that we're trying to improve. Certificate creation for this year is lagging behind a little bit on target, although we're seeing improvements here as well. As the Minister said in her introduction, we are again aiming to exceed the target for this year. But on current trends, whilst there is still a sound surplus of certificates, the overall trend is that that surplus is currently being reduced to a certain extent. As I said, approximately 4.5 million certificates have been registered so far this year, and the activities being undertaken are on the slide. Lighting remains the primary activity, but weather sealing likewise is really gaining in prominence as a very high volume activity. We're seeing a good uptake of electrification activities, including water heating, as well as space heating and cooling, which are increasingly contributing to the number of certificates being created. As Kate has emphasized, compliance and enforcement is part of one of our focus areas, and we are increasingly active in this area, and that has likely already been apparent to any accredited person in the programme. The Commission is really committed to ensuring the integrity of the programme, and we have really bolstered our capability and focus on compliance and enforcement. To date, we've issued 15 warnings, including formal warnings issued under the Act. We have imposed conditions and restrictions on the accreditation of 6 accredited persons, where we had concerns about their capability to undertake prescribed activities properly. So in those cases, we might restrict someone's ability to undertake an activity if we have concerns, or on other occasions, suspended their ability to undertake a particular activity until an independent audit has been concluded, and we can see that requisite improvements are being made. In addition, we issued certificate surrender orders for over 3,700 certificates, and in 2 very serious cases, we suspended the accreditation of 2 accredited persons. Our activities are not limited, of course, in this area to accredited persons only. We have also issued shortfall penalty notices to energy retailers, requiring surrender of requiring payment, I should say, of shortfall penalties of just over $53,000. I just wanted to briefly touch on the current issues that we're really seeing coming up in the programme as well. Much of this really relates to the uptake of water heater installations as a more complex installation activities. We have seen too many instances where installations have been of a poor quality, which in some cases has raised concerns for safety of consumers, and the Commission really has no tolerance for risk to health and safety under the programme. We're also seeing too many instances still of baseline manipulation. So these are cases where a product is being replaced, but we are told something different about what actually was being replaced, and that then leads to improper certificate creation. Likewise, we remain concerned about compliance with the Code of Conduct in a number of cases. This is really a key consumer protection instrument under the programme, and we will continue to focus on ensuring a high level of compliance with this code. Finally, as I've mentioned, we see high levels of certificate withdrawals in response to requests for information. So these are cases where certain flags are raised with us about a particular activity being claimed, and we then ask for further information to demonstrate that the activity was properly undertaken. And what we then see too often is that the certificates are simply being withdrawn rather than the evidence being provided. Our view is that improper creation of certificates is actionable through our compliance and enforcement activities, irrespective of whether certificates have been withdrawn. That's something to really keep in mind going forward. With all of that said, we are of course here to support the success of the programme and the accredited persons operating in the programme. So we are actively working to assist compliance. In many cases, that means that we are working one-on-one with accredited persons to provide specific guidance on compliance improvements, and we're also issuing updated guidance to aid compliant installations. As a first cab off the rank, we will soon publish an updated activity guide for activity 15, which is weather sealing. And of course, we are here to support you. Please reach out via email or via telephone if further assistance or information is needed. Finally, again, picking up on a point that Kate has made earlier, we are increasingly concerned about scheme participant behaviour. So we're really talking here about contractors engaged in installations or in marketing activities, including telemarketing. Some of the primary areas of concern are fairly aggressive or high-pressure door knocking activities. In particular, this is of concern where we see this affecting vulnerable people, including elderly people. We have instances of door knocking going around nursing homes or retirement villages, and this often leads to complaints. We're concerned about misleading statements being made about the nature of the program, about activities being government funded. As I've said, we have concerns around quality of installations by contractors, as well as baseline manipulation. We're frequently told when we raise these concerns that the accredited persons were unaware of the behaviour of their contractors, but this is really not an acceptable excuse. Accredited persons are responsible for the behaviour of their contractors, even if you have no awareness of the behaviour at the time. Under the Code of Conduct, penalties and other forms of enforcement action can be taken in respect of both the accredited person and the scheme participant if we find concerning behaviour. Again, though, we're here to try to assist you in these sorts of areas, and we've recently issued fact sheets that set out the core obligations both for installers and for telemarketers. And we ask you to ensure that those fact sheets are distributed to your contractors to assist with compliant operations under the programme. That's it for me. I think I'm now handing over to Emma Jacobs of the department.
Okay, thanks, Caspar. Yeah, so I'm Emma Jacobs. I'm currently acting as the Director of the Energy Demand and Efficiency Policy branch while Kirilee's on leave. And I'm just going to be giving you a brief update around what's been happening from the policy side of the fence. If you could just jump to the next slide, Heidi. So I would just like to acknowledge I'm here on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people and honour those elders past and present, and as well as the traditional lands that any of you who are joining us remotely might be joining from. Next slide, please, Heidi. So many of you will presumably be familiar with this work plan that we've got published on our website, but I just wanted to kind of talk through it and give you a few highlights. There are a couple of things that we are expecting to have out in public shortly for this year. You know, we do want to make sure we're you know, not releasing things on the 24th of December ideally, but you know, we've got some deliveries to be done in the next few weeks. So there's also what will be coming up in early 2024. The first activity there is really consulting on product warranties, co-payments, and product quality. As the program has really transitioned away from targeting the lowest hanging fruit, you know, the program's been in place for 12 years and we've done an incredible amount, but most of that has been low cost or free upgrades, which are fairly easy to replace. And so if a light bulb fails, someone can just get a new light bulb, their provider can send them a new light bulb. It's much more complicated when we're talking about water heaters. Quality becomes a much more significant issue, and space heaters. So we are really looking to make sure that we can make these electrification activities really successful. They will be the fundamental backbone of the scheme for meeting the 2024 and 2025 targets. We're also going to be reviewing the project-based activities. Again, an activity that's going to be really key to meeting future targets, being able for larger sites to measure before and after and undertake a whole diverse range of upgrades is going to be really important. The messaging around quality also fits very nicely into the next deliverable. So we as the program evolves and really looks to do those deeper retrofits, moving people off of gas, we need to make sure that the marketing is appropriate and builds a trusted relationship with the consumer. And that is very hard to do when there's at least one element of the market that's got to race to the bottom with telemarketing and door knocking to have the most leads generated. So our goal here is to look at how can we make sure that the VU program is a trusted program. And the only way that VU is a trusted program and a trusted brand is if we don't have a segment of the market that is aggressively and inappropriately marketing. Because too often if you're trying to explain to someone at a barbecue what the VU program is, you end up saying, oh, have you ever been door knocked about light bulbs? It's that program. And the trusted relationship that APs will need to build with consumers to upgrade their essential services like their water heating and lighting, water heating and space heating is going to be different to the history that the program's had. And so we want to empower all of you, all the 100 businesses that are actively out there accrediting, to make sure that there's an even playing field. And so that's why the telemarketing RIS will be really important. So that's kind of the first half of the year. The second half of the year is going to be equally a big half of the year, because one of the key things that we've already started working on and we're really looking forward to being able to start having conversations is setting the targets for 2026 to 2030. So under the Victorian Energy Efficiency Target Act, the Minister has to set the targets out to 2030 by the 31st of May 2025. The way we do that target setting process is several months beforehand, we will publish a regulatory impact statement which sets out several different options. But that will be part of an ongoing consultation process where we're talking with industry about where you guys see the opportunities in the growth markets, as well as talking to technical specialists about how we decarbonize energy use for households and businesses. I was reading the paper this morning and I noticed the world's largest iceberg has just broken off down in Antarctica. Climate change is the fundamental driver that underpins the scheme. So we need to be looking at how do we help Victorian households and businesses decarbonise, as well as reduce their energy costs, and what technology change, what upgrades do we need to support out to 2030 to make that happen. So that will be a really major piece of work. It's a really exciting opportunity for industry to be looking at how we shape the future of the program and how we shape the future of energy use in the state, because we all know that we are at a really key pivot point in the energy transition, moving away from coal-fired power and the use of fossil gas in homes to a clean future, and VU is going to have a really important role in that. And this next year will be a really key opportunity for you guys to be saying, how can the energy efficiency industry be best set up to succeed and help Victorian households and businesses succeed in that transition. That won't be all we'll be doing, though. There'll be also plenty of work that the Energy Efficient Technologies team works on, looking at how we bring in new activities into the program. Insulation is going to be one of those. That's a really key activity to in the energy transition, to make sure that people have comfortable homes. So we're really looking forward to being able to have the regulatory and safety and quality framework for insulation to be able to bring that back into the program and really support households decarbonising and increasing their thermal comfort. If we just jump on to the next slide. Oh, yeah, okay. So the thing that that I mentioned earlier around how electrification is really the key. It's going to be the key to meeting the 2024 and 25 target. So we are starting to see a steady increase in these activities, in the level of uptake of these activities since they were introduced, and we're really keen to continue to support industry to make sure that we can have the methods and the administration processes and everything like that working effectively so we can get these activities to scale up. The Victorian government earlier this year announced their goal to move Victorians off of fossil gas by 2045. That is 2 million households which have gas appliances in Victoria that we need to be moving away from the use of fossil gas. So these two activities are really important. The steady growth that we're seeing is a great sign, and we're really pleased to see more and more APs moving towards participating in this activity. But we're keen to hear from you guys if there are barriers. As I said, we will be doing further consultations next year, but equally feel free to reach out to us if you're having any, if you're experiencing barriers, if when you're selling these activities, you're building your understanding of how consumers understand them so that we can clarify some of the comms and some of the materials where this is a key activity and we want to set you guys up for success. And so feel free to touch base. Is there one more slide, Heidi, or is that it? Oh, it's just a thank you. There we go. Oh, yeah, hand back over to Dan. Thanks.
Thanks, Emma. Good morning, everyone. Great to be here at my first VU forum, and it's really great to see such interest in the program. I'm Dan Keeley, Director of Development, relatively new here at the ESC in the VU program. 5 key points about the changes to fees, and I'll try and keep this pretty snappy so we can get through the presentations and to the questions and issues. 1st of November saw the commencement of new fees for the VU program, and they sit alongside the changes that commenced on the 1st of July. Notably, the top line in the slide, the fee payable for registering each certificate increased from $1 to $2.33, and no doubt you've all observed those changes. I'll also note, though, that the fees hadn't been updated since 2009. These increases reflect a whole of government cost recovery policy, meaning that the fees charged cover the costs of administering the program and regulating all of you within the program. The summary of the fee changes in the slide presented has been communicated via our website, via a previous online forum, which really just focused on the changes of fees on the 1st of November and other program comms, and should be pretty easily accessible. I'd also highlight that the process for invoicing, particularly for certificate registration, has changed. Tuesday and Thursday mornings are now really important deadlines for APs, and you'll need to observe these deadlines to ensure that you've considered any external duplicates that have been flagged in the system and taken the opportunity, where you so choose, to withdraw those certificates so that you avoid being invoiced and pay a fee. The final point I'll make is that certificate registrations and all other applications within the program will not be processed until fees have been paid. That's it for me, short and sharp. If you've got any questions, look forward to answering them in the Q&A section, or as always, email vau@esc.vic.gov.au, and I'll hand over back to Caspar for some information about the changes to the accreditation and renewal process.
Thank you, Dan. Next slide, please, Heidi. One of the most significant changes that has really come from the amendments to the framework as of 1 July is the need to renew your accreditation annually. So we have set out 4 steps to help you do that. And of course, we have also already issued up on our website a declaration with the accreditation transition period and the expiry date for your accreditation. So please keep a close eye on that. Very briefly, check when your application expires, get prepared, lodge your application at least 90 days before the expiry due date, because otherwise you might have to pay a late fee, which is quite a significant amount above the renewal fee of $1,000. When we receive your application, we will review that as quickly as we can. We may require you to provide us with further information. As mentioned, there are new tests that are applicable, and sometimes you need a bit more information from you to make sure that we are satisfied you can meet those tests. A decision is then made by a delegate of the Commission, and we will send you a notice of that decision. The decision may come with conditions. In fact, to a certain extent, it always will, because again, one of the changes to the framework is that the conditions of your accreditation will tell you exactly which prescribed activities you are entitled to undertake as part of your accreditation. And so if you want to make changes to the activities you want to undertake, you will need to seek a change of conditions unless it's part of your renewal application itself. We're sending out notifications a month before and again 2 weeks before your expiry date is due to keep you informed and make sure you're on top of the expiration date of your accreditation and the need to apply in a timely fashion. Next slide, please, Heidi. Just really briefly, as I've said, there's a change from 1 July, which requires annual renewal of accreditation. And some of the changes really come with requirements that have raised the bar. So as we've been saying, I think a few times today, there's a new requirement to be a fit and proper person. So we're really looking here at your overall behavior as an accredited person, including, of course, as I've said, the scheme participants that might be working for you. We're looking for competent and capable people. This is, again, a test under the Act. So we're looking here really for the prescribed activities that you are looking to undertake and your capability to undertake those in a competent fashion. And as I've said, conditions may be imposed on accreditation. Those include things like the prescribed activities you can undertake, but also if we feel there's a particular area where we need reassurance that you will operate properly, conditions may be imposed to give us that higher level of confidence. As part of our assessment, we will look at your particular history, including, for example, any audits that we may have conducted. It may include any compliance or enforcement activity that we've taken. We habitually seek information from other regulators and programs. For example, if you're operating under both the VEU program and the Solar Homes program, we will seek information from Solar Victoria. And we tend to do some checks around your existing website and other published advertising materials, again, to ensure that you are a fit and proper and competent and capable person as is now required. That's it from me, and I think I'm handing back to Bathan.
Thank you, Caspar and Dan, for those updates. We're now ready for questions, and we can see some questions text box, so keep those coming through. The first of the questions we're going to ask, we're going to throw to Emma at the department. Emma, I think I'll bundle up a couple of these questions because they're along a similar theme. I'll read them out firstly. People haven't put their names to these, and that's fine. But I'll read these out, and you can answer them. So first question is, how will targets be achieved if the creation has dropped with removal of light activities in February and the number of certificates is due to reduce by 20% soon and again in February 2025? And the second question, which I think is related, is during the previous forum, there was mention about energy efficient home appliance rebates being discussed. What would this entail? For example, electric cooktops, white goods, etc. So I guess I'm seeing a theme here about, old activities and new activities coming online here. Did you want to answer that one, Emma?
Yeah, of course. So the if I start off with the change in the electricity emissions factor, that will reduce the abatement for some of the traditional electric efficiency activities, such as lighting upgrades and that sort of thing. It actually has the opposite effect for those electrification activities. So because you're because the amount of abatement that occurs from an efficient electric appliance is going down as we account for the electricity system decarbonising. So that is why our expectation is that an increasing proportion of the future targets are going to be met with those electrification activities, and we want to make sure those electrification activities work successfully to meet those targets. The slide that I showed, the electrification activities are increasing. We're going to be monitoring to ensure that they are increasing to a level that gives us confidence that we can meet those 24 and 25 targets. As I said, we've already met the 2023 target and we're well on the way to meeting the 2024 target. We do need to make sure that we retain a certain level of market liquidity. So we are monitoring the market really reasonably closely. But at the moment, we feel confident that getting those electrification activities to work is the fundamental part to meeting the current year's targets, or the current set targets. In terms of new activities, the things that are on the racetrack diagram that I presented are the ones where we've got the official go ahead and from the minister, and all the ducks are in a row for us to start that work program and be, talking in public about consulting and those sorts of things. We're always looking at what else we can add in and how else we can bring certificates to the market. So there are certainly a couple of concepts that have been proposed. Certainly, as part of looking at electrification, we understand that cooktops is currently the gap for the program, and we're looking at how that could fit in. We're also looking at how we can support broader other types of activities. We know that New South Wales, for example, has an appliance retail method. So, always more than happy to receive feedback, have discussions about what activities and opportunities you guys can identify. We're always looking for what those opportunities are, but at the moment, the ones that are on the diagram, the ones that are signed off as officially part of the work program. And you'll probably see changes to that early in the new year.
Thanks, Emma. I'll throw you another question in a moment, so don't go too far away, but just a reminder that you can post a question by selecting the Q&A button in the menu. You can also raise your hand, and I can see one or two hands there, so feel free to raise your hand and we'll come to you shortly. And if you're on a mobile device, just a reminder that you can find the Q&A and raise hand buttons by clicking the three dots in the menu. So Emma, just another question for you while you're here. What is the duration of the heating and cooling upgrade program? Is there an estimated end date?
So I think that's referring to the solar homes heating and cooling rebate program that ended last financial year. In terms of heating and cooling being in VU, that is certainly going to be a core part of the program for the at least out until 2030, which is currently the legislative end date of the program.
Okay, thanks, Emma. Sorry, we've got one more for you here while you're still there. So the consultation for banning telemarketing under the VU closed on 24th of July this year. Cold calling and door knocking have been identified earlier in this forum by us as an ongoing concern for customers and obviously impact the trust and confidence of VU for all stakeholders. The questioner asks, while we appreciate the need for a review of responses carefully, 6+ months seems excessive given the importance of this for the program's credibility. At what point in Q1 2024 can industry expect to see guidance on this topic?
We certainly recognise that industry wants certainty as quickly as possible, and agree with that telling a resolution to this is important to market confidence. We are hoping to have that out as soon as possible. Early in the new year.
Great, thanks, Emma. We've got a couple of hands up, so I'll throw to some people to ask their questions. And when I mention your name, if you could just take yourself off mute, that would be great. So first of all, we'll go to Lucas from Victorian Energy. Are you there, Lucas? You'll need to take yourself off mute.
Can you hear me? Or
yes, can hear you.
it was just a question for Emma in regards to activity 6V or number 7 with the decommissioning of the gas ducted heater. It's somewhat restrictive at the moment. Now that we've changed the rule a couple of weeks ago that we measure abatement through the indoor units installed now, not being able to install, trusted brands like Dakin and the likes as single split systems and access the full rebate that you can at the moment with multi-head splits. Is this something that's quite restrictive, because there's a lot more installers accredited out there, plumbers and electricians, with the single split system accreditation, and it's restricting households under electrification at the moment, because I'm sure many would much prefer to have individual split systems as to lesser brands that have come into the market as multi-head splits. So can we just get a comment perhaps from you where that's sitting with the single split systems?
I might throw to Andrew, because you've probably gone into more specifics than I can talk to, but Andrew, are you online?
Yes, Emma, yeah, thanks for that. So we're aware, we have had a number of stakeholders raise this with the department. We're aware of it. If you a few slides back that Emma had the racetrack, the work plan. So there is a consultation on this activity plan for next year. And at that point, we'll be in a better position to answer that question and give it the sort of attention it requires. If that answers your question.
Yep, thanks.
Great, thank you. We've got another hand up, so we'll throw to Jai Cordinia. Can you take yourself off mute? That hand went down, so maybe Jai's changed his mind. We do have another hand up, which I'll come to in a moment. I've just got another question in the Q&A box for Emma again, and the question is, should evaporative coolers be included in the rebate scheme given their EE are 5 times more than the comparable RCAC and all electric?
So the electrification activities are designed to replace gas heating with reverse cycle air conditioning, so that looking at that heating function of a reverse cycle air conditioner rather than the cooling function. I might throw to Andrew or Kieran. Are you able to comment specifically on the current treatment of evaporative coolers if you're just looking at a cooling function?
I'll take that on notice. It's a technical question, so.
Yeah, look, Andrew, I'm happy to jump in there quickly. So just when we look at the cooling function of evaporative coolers, there's a few reasons why that hasn't been included in the activity to begin with. The evaporative coolers can cause decreases in thermal efficiency by reducing the building shell efficiency, as you need to have some openings in the household, and the vents are rarely sealed off when heating is required. And they also have a limited ability to function in times of high humidity, which is all feedback that we received when we consulted on this activity earlier in the year. So that's why we haven't included it. They're also normally paired with the ducted gas heating system, which is one of the things that we're looking to replace. So that's the main reason why they haven't been included at the moment. Yeah, we're happy to take more feedback on that and discuss it further. But yeah, the key focus is on reverse cycle air conditioners as just in terms of delivering an equivalent amount of cooling, they are actually the most efficient technology.
Thanks very much, Kieran. Jai, I can see you're there. Did you want to elaborate at all, or does that answer your question for now?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for the useful presentation by all of you guys. And it is a question to Emma. She's from DECA. I have been in consultation with other members also in DECA, and I have raised various issues. This was just one of them that just Kieran has addressed. Evaporative coolers are, in fact, 5 times more efficient than comparable reverse cycle heating cooling. And fresh air is the main attraction in evaporative cooler. Perhaps you have overlooked. People who prefer fresh air, they prefer evaporative cooling, and it consumes 5 times less power than a comparable refrigerated heating cooling, which requires fully sealed house that doesn't allow fresh air at all. And the resident feels frog effect when one is just enjoying comfort by reducing temperature only. There is no fresh air inside, and there might be a situation of depleted oxygen inside that is not addressed by the reverse cycle heating cooling, even though it has incentive and it is very alluring for the resident to get a rebate. But I think the program is overlooking this side. People need fresh air, a certain amount of fresh air all the time, while this reverse cycle heating cooling doesn't allow fresh air at all. So either you club it with a certain amount of fresh air, either using fresh air heat recovery ventilators, or allow fresh air evaporative coolers as well. Kieran just said that it is paired with gas ducted heaters. Of course it was, because in Victorian chilling cold, gas ducted heating was very fast responsive, unlike reverse cycle refrigerated heating cooling, because refrigerated heating takes heat from the outdoor air when temperature is very low outdoor, -5, then they will struggle to heat the whole house. And then that will be a big issue. Then people will not have fresh air, and they will be required to seal the whole house. So that is one thing. That is fine. Please, you have taken the comment, and you are considering that. Whether it is up to you whether you want to include that in rebate scheme or not, but certainly you should give the option for people to use evaporative cooler. That is my point of view. And another point is solar rebate. I don't know whether it is within your purview or not, but solar rebate is so misleading that people are getting only 5 cents, precisely 4.9 cents per unit, while people are charging 38 cents, 35 cents. All the retailers are charging 35 cents per unit. At the time of quotation of solar power generation, whether it's 6.5 kilowatt, 10 kilowatt, whatever, on the roof, they are giving 20-25 cents per unit basis for payback period. But in the retailer is giving in the bill only 5 cents, precisely 4.9 cents. I have the bill here from Alinta. They keep charging. Same was Simply Energy, True Energy, all are using. I don't know whether it is within you or not. There is second one. Yeah. Second question, whether you can take that. And but the main question was, if you allow me, please, Emma, to you. We, the manufacturers of Victoria, of gas ducted heaters and evaporative coolers, are the major victim of this gas ban policy. Is there any respite to the small businesses? That is my main question. Thank you. Sorry, yeah, long time.
Of course. So Victoria is certainly not banning the installation of gas ducted heating at the moment. We are the announced policy currently is that there'll be no moving away from obligating new developments to be connected to gas, and giving people, and VU has moved away from incentivising those products. We are long-term for Victoria looking to move away from the use of fossil gas because we need to decarbonise. In terms of local manufacturing, there are incentives available for and government support available to help local manufacturers, and as part through the energy transition. And maybe we can talk about that offline, Jai, because it's not my area, but there's certainly, we're happy to have that discussion and make sure we connect you up with people. But part of the reason that we want to do this and start having this conversation is that we don't want to just make a sudden ban in 2045. We need to be transitioning over the next period of years so that we can all be ready for when we get to a zero carbon future. And that will involve a lot of businesses changing in that period of time. And so we want to support them to be able to make that change.
Thanks, Emma, and thanks for your questions, Jai. We'll keep moving because there are a few in the queue. Question for Dan. Could you please confirm the application costs and renewal costs for space heating?
Thanks, Bathan. Yes, I can. Hopefully a relatively quick answer. So the application fee, excuse me, for renewal of your accreditation, if you're already an accredited person, is $1,000 for renewal. And the application for an initial accreditation is $3,000. To vary the conditions of your accreditation once you've been through the renewal process is now a $1,500 fee. If you find yourself in the position that you're currently an AP, but you haven't yet renewed your accreditation, you haven't been through your batch, then please contact us about a variation or a change in the activities that you can undertake.
Great, thanks, Dan. We'll go to the hand up, which is Michael Siddons. Do you want to take yourself off mute, Michael? Heidi, you might need to enable Michael's mic as well. Try now, Michael.
Yeah, hi. So my question is regarding hydronic heating. So it's the best way to capture solar power. The efficiencies out of technology being developed for the European market is very high. So very good energy savings in general, let alone the input from solar power. And Australia has an ability to utilise large amounts of solar power for heating. And the technology around thermal stores, whether you're heating a slab or just heating water, which can then be used for heating in radiators or even in existing duct, in replacing a gas boiler, is is quite established. So I was just wanting to understand the position on this issue. That is moving to underfloor heating or hydraulic heating using European style heat pumps.
Okay, thanks for that, Michael. I'll just check if the department wanted to have a go at that one first.
Look,
Emma?
Kieran, did you want to speak to any of the specifics there? Otherwise, I'll just make a general comment that we're always keen to have the broadest range of products that suit consumers' needs, and we will be consulting on this method next year. So, yeah, happy to have further discussions.
Yeah, that's probably what I would have said as well, Emma. We will be consulting on the space heating and cooling activities next year, and we'll be very keen to hear more about the potential of hydronic heating. We're just noting that at the moment it is quite a limited market in Australia. As you say, there's a lot more of it over in Europe, but yeah, we'll certainly be keen to hear more about that next year as part of our consultation process.
Thanks, Kieran. So I think stay tuned there, Michael. All right, we're just going to pause questions for a couple of minutes to give people a chance to complete the survey, which we've posted in the Q&A chat box. If you scroll up to the top, there's a pinned comment from Jason Cox, which has a link to the survey. So we're seeking your views on issues we can improve around the program, including future compliance and engagement activity. This includes a question about how future forums can be improved. In answering that question, I'm particularly interested in whether you have a preference for these online forums or if you enjoy in-person forums as well. Let us know what you think about that in your answering of those questions. So we'll pause for a few minutes, or a couple of minutes, so you can complete the survey that's posted at the top of the Q&A chat box there. And again, a reminder, if you have technical questions about the program, you're very welcome to email these to us at veu@esc.vic.gov.au, and we'll respond directly. And for any questions we don't get to today, we'll have a go at answering, and we'll take those on notice and post answers to those on our website. I'll leave you in peace for a couple of minutes to answer the survey. Okay, that's probably enough time for the survey. So thanks all for your efforts on answering the questions there, and we hope to be responsive to your ideas that you've put in there. We'll go back to some questions from the Q&A box. So this one's for Dan again. When will rebates be available for replacing existing home windows and doors with double glazing or more energy efficient glass? Currently, there is no accredited installers in Victoria. We are very interested in becoming accredited and would like to discuss this with someone at the ESC.
Thanks, Bathan. Yeah, look, I think you're right in saying there has been pretty low uptake of double glazing. It is an available activity. There are some available products. I understand there are limited APs who are active in this area, but it's very slow. So if you are an AP who is interested in scaling up in this space, then by all means reach out to us and we can give you some more advice on what you'd need to do from an accreditation point of view so you could access this activity.
Thanks, Dan. The next question is for Caspar from Dion. The registration of products for the space heating program appears to be very slow. Are there reasons for this? Caspar, did you want to take that?
Yes, thank you. I don't think we would say that the registration is slow itself. There has been a slight increase in timeframes that in part results from the introduction of the new fees. So for example, with the new fee introduction, we have to issue an invoice, wait for payment, for the system to recognize the payment, and then we move on to processing. But the delay there is not significant. There are some products that have taken a bit more time process because of the issues around anomalous seasonal performance factors, which complicates the assessment a bit. But there's otherwise no significant delay in this particular product category.
Thanks, Caspar. I've got a couple of questions for Emma. So Emma, you might want to direct this one elsewhere to one of your technical people. Are the formulas currently being reviewed as certain products have 8-star energy efficiency, which is thermodynamically not possible?
Is this relating to reverse cycle air conditioners? Kieran, maybe you can answer this. I'm not sure what product category that is referring to.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. I assume this is related to the reverse cycle air conditioners, and the ESC actually just put out some updated information around there's on the GEMS register there are some anomalous values that there are some products with cooling factors that are higher than they should be, and the ESC has implemented a new process to deal with those products to make sure that the certificate creation is based off the actual efficiency of the products, so that we might be able to put a link in the chat to the information that ESC has just put out about that, which will hopefully answer that question.
Thanks, Kieran. And I'll just check, was there anyone at the ESC who had anything to say on that question? We might follow up with some more detail in the post-forum information. Okay, we'll keep moving. The other question for Emma was, is the rebate for commercial refrigerators going to be back soon?
Yeah, so on the work plan slide, we do have a plan to publish the response to consultation by the end of the year, noting that the end of the year is not that far away. So you should have more information about the timelines and everything for that shortly.
Thanks, Emma. Another question for Dan. For the stat on premises upgraded, do you have a breakdown of what's residential versus small business? And do you track upgrades undertaken for rental properties?
I think the level of granularity there is really just down to residential and business, but within business, not small and large, and there is no specific information gathered on rental properties. So you can find more information about that and some case studies in our annual report.
Okay, another one for you, Dan. Someone says they've created a VU account, but it is said we need to apply to become an accredited person, and they can't find a link or any information about how that's done. Could we provide some information on that?
We can. We've put a response to that question in the chat, I think, and provided a link. And perhaps if we have a future forum in person, you'll be able to ask one of your peers as well.
Thanks, Dan. Another question for Emma. Does the department intend to remove the 10-year rule currently applied to activity 44? Since it is a deemed activity, why do we need this rule? It is causing utter distress for us as a business.
So the 10 years is a limit to the age of a boiler that you can replace with a more efficient boiler. Is that right, Kieran? Look, we might have to take that one offline, and look, we're certainly aware that for those commercial water heating activities, we have had some feedback that there's opportunities to expand the upgrade and that will certainly be part of our consultation early next year, because we do want to make sure that we're supporting both households and businesses to have the widest range of technology that they can to electrify, and if they can't, to install high efficiency gas boilers. My memory for the specific technical requirements of all 45 VU activities sometimes fails me, so we might have to take that specific question offline and get back to you.
And yeah, Emma, just quickly, that 10-year requirement, yeah, you were correct about that. Sorry, I tried to pull myself off mute and accidentally switched my video off instead.
Thanks, Kieran. Thanks, Emma. This next question is for Caspar. With regards to the fit and proper test for a VEET scheme registry account, why is fit and proper test performed by the Clean Energy Regulator for an ANREU registry account not considered an equivalent test?
Yeah, that's a good question. The Clean Energy Regulator indeed applies the fit and proper person test of its own, but it is a little bit different than the test that we are required to apply under our Act. So even though there are certain factors that are in common between the two tests, the Act requires us to just apply slightly different factors, so they're not exactly equivalent tests.
Thanks, Caspar.
Bathan, can I add to that? We
Yes.
are conscious that particularly for large and sophisticated businesses, you may have already sought and received a fit and proper test from other regulators. And if that is the case, we would encourage you to reach out to us if you're looking at a VEET scheme registry account, and we can consider whether or not we can recognise an equivalency from that other fit and proper person test.
Thanks, Dan. It's a good point. It could be relevant information for your application, even if it's not going to give you an automatic pass of the VEET test. Another question for Caspar from Dion. After 10 weeks of these new activities, is ESC concerned at the amount of non-compliance across accredited providers, installers and marketing agencies?
Well, as I think I've said, we certainly have a range of compliance concerns, really the ones that I went through earlier in the presentation. When it comes to the new activities, I think I've really highlighted in particular concerns around installation of water heaters and the quality there. And as I've said, we've taken certain actions to address that in the past. So in short, the answer is yes, we do have some concerns, but I think we're actively working to address that.
Thanks, Caspar. Another one for you, Caspar, hopefully a straightforward one. Does the renewal apply to accreditation as a whole or to individual activities?
Yeah, so renewal of accreditation, the same as applications for initial accreditation. Really are just a concept to become accredited, and as part of the accreditation, you then apply to be accredited for particular activities which are then noted as a condition on your accreditation. So you really become accredited as an accredited person, then as a subset of that for particular activities. And if you want to change that in the course of the year, you can apply to have those conditions varied.
Thanks, Caspar. While I've got you, I've just got another one or two here for you. What changes to activity 15 are being planned?
I think that's likely a reference to what I said about updating the activity guide that we have in mind there to assist compliance. So there's no direct change to the activity itself. Rather, what we're trying to do is really assist accredited persons and scheme participants to undertake this activity in a compliant way. So what we're doing is updating our activity guide to hopefully be a bit more helpful to really demonstrate how you undertake this activity in a compliant manner. But no change to the activity itself.
Thanks, Caspar. And one more for you, pre-November the 1st, the batching of submissions was only being done once every week, every Wednesday. Since there are 2 creation invoices being raised every week post November 1, will there be 2 batches created every week for each activity, which would mean faster processing of certificates for APs?
The batching is one of the factors that certainly goes into the processing of the processing time of certificates. But no, at the moment we're not planning on making a change to doing batching twice a week. It's going to stay really as it is, being done every Wednesday.
Thanks, Caspar. I've got a question for Emma from Jessica. Please, can you provide adequate LEU consultation response time over the Christmas break? Please, can you indicate the date due for the response? I think it might need to read. Many businesses responding will be resource challenged during December and January.
Yeah, look, we certainly understand that, and we'll certainly be liaising with industry and making sure that there's sufficient time for any responses that are required. And that any consultation that happens December, January, we'll make sure we've got it extends so that people have time to provide response.
Thanks, Emma. While I've got you, and somewhat relatedly, does DECA consult with industries or companies that are most highly likely to be affected moving forward to zero carbon targets? And is there a channel into the policy so they can have assistance into transitioning into other types of business?
Yeah, so the Victoria's interim climate change emissions reduction targets, which is the target for 2030 and 2035, was set last year following a consultation process that was done by an independent advisory panel. I can certainly, so those are our targets for 2030 and 2035. I can certainly send you the background to that. In terms of going forward and the transitions, we are engaging with industry on a number of levels. Certainly our colleagues, we work very closely with our colleagues over at the Department of DJ Sir, which is the department that's responsible for jobs and industry. And they have a number of programs to support industry. We also have a consultation process an engagement process that happens through the gas substitution roadmap for those businesses that are impacted by the transition away from gas. There will be an update to the gas substitution roadmap being published shortly, and opportunities to engage there as we support businesses working in that sector. If you've got any other, Andrew's got his hand up. Maybe did you want to add to that, Andrew? But broadly, if you have specific questions, we're more than happy to put you in contact with the right people. There's a lot of different areas that are engaging. Department of Education is looking at the skills and training transition elements. Reach out to energy.upgrades at DECA, and I can connect you up with the right people.
And I was just going to say there was a part of the question that was asking about support for industry to deliver these solutions. So DJ Sir do have a Made in Victoria manufacturing growth program, and there are grants currently on their website. They do close soon, and I'll see if we can post a link to that in this in the chat. So
yeah, thanks for that.
Thanks, Emma and Andrew. Got a couple of do my best Q&A Tony Jones impersonation here and take some questions as comments. We've got one from Dion. Does obligating Victorians by removing the choice of energy options compromise the principle of freedom of choice for Victorians? We'll take that one as a comment, Dion. The other one is from Amit. VEU and DELP should allow VEECs on single head aircons, which allows us to install Fujitsu, Panasonic's and other products as compared to installing multi-split and VRF, which will lead to more complaints in future due to installation issues. if gas leak happens in future, all air cons will stop working. Thanks, Amit, for that one. I'm just going back to the list here. Another question for Emma from Rod. What is the likelihood of the shortfall penalty rate being increased?
So there was a line in the RIS when we set the targets for out to 2025 that we would review that. We're not going ahead with that review. I will make sure that we can, next time we update the roadmap, we explicitly note that we won't be doing that review. But yeah, the likelihood is 0.
Thanks, Emma.
At the moment. So yeah. So we'll be obviously considering the shortfall penalty as part of the broader process for the setting the next tranche of targets, but the target as the penalty as set for out to 2025, we're not intending to change.
Thanks very much. I think I might have exhausted all of the questions I can see on my list. If we have missed your question, as I said at the beginning, we will provide a response and post it on our website. But I'll just check, are there any last questions anyone wants to ask or any raised hands before we wrap things up? Okay. Oh, look, I do. Look, I think that one we'll need to take offline. So thanks everyone again for taking the time to attend the forum today. Really great engagement through the questions there. Really excellent to see the level of interest and engagement from you all. I guess a consistent theme I've heard here today is there's strong appetite for information, engagement, and continued growth in the program, and we certainly share that. Share that sentiment and want to be providing information to you that's useful through forums like this, but also when you have direct questions for us, please feel free to come to us and we'll try and be as responsive as we can. As I said earlier in the discussion, we appreciate that response times haven't been ideal during this year, but we are certainly working on that. I think we have seen some improvement in recent times, and I hope you're observing that as well. I want to reinforce that the Commission's strong commitment is to supporting and engaging with industry to promote compliance and improve compliance with the program's outcomes, and we'll continue to do that. We hope you found today's session valuable and look forward to engaging with you more in 2024. And I wish you all a safe and happy summer holiday period. Thanks, everyone.